Hey viewers, you're watching The Savera and I'm Vidhi Joshi. US President Donald Trump has announced that he is cancelling his planned tariffs on several European nations, following what he described as a productive understanding with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte over Greenland and Arctic security. The tariffs, which were scheduled to take effect on February 1, will no longer proceed after discussions held on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum in Davos. In a post on his Truth Social platform, Donald Trump said that the meeting with Rutte resulted in a framework for a future deal focused on Greenland and the broader Arctic region. He said that the proposed framework, if finalized, would benefit both the United States and all the NATO nations, adding that it was the basis for his decision to withdraw the tariff threat. Donald Trump also said talks were continuing on what he referred to as the Golden Dome related to Greenland, and that negotiations would be led by Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and other officials as required, all reporting directly to him. Donald Trump's announcement came shortly after he signaled a retreat from earlier rhetoric about using military force to seize Greenland, a Danish territory that he has repeatedly described as vital to U.S. national security. Speaking at the World Economic Forum, Donald Trump said that he wanted to acquire right, title and ownership of Greenland, but would not use force to do so, insisting that he did not want to and did not have to resort to military action. He derided European allies, argued that the US had historically borne the burden of defending Europe, and claimed that his demand was a very small ask compared to what America had given NATO over decades. Donald Trump described Greenland as cold and poorly located, while simultaneously stressing its strategic significance amid growing competition in the Arctic. At one point, he said that the US could be unstoppable if it chose to use force, before quickly adding that he had no intention of doing so. When asked what the US might be willing to pay for Greenland, Donald Trump avoided naming any price, instead saying that the real cost was related to safety, security, and international stability. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte used the Davos meeting to reassure Donald Trump of allied commitment to the United States, pointing to NATO's response after the September 11 attacks, when member states sent troops to fight alongside US forces in Afghanistan. Donald Trump welcomed the reassurance and described Rutte as trustworthy, while acknowledging the tensions over Greenland has raised doubts in his mind about allied resolve. Denmark welcomed Donald Trump's decision to step back from both military threats and trade penalties. Danish Foreign Minister Lars Løkke said that the day was ending on a better note than it began, adding that Denmark appreciated the US president ruling out the use of force and pausing the trade war. He said Denmark was ready to engage in talks to address American security concerns in the Arctic, while respecting what he described as Kingdom of Denmark's red lines. In Greenland, the government responded to the escalating rhetoric by urging residents to be prepared for potential crisis, and authorities released a preparedness handbook in both English and Greenlandic, advising citizens to keep enough food, water, fuel, and essential supplies to last at least 5 days. Residents in the capital, Nuuk, said that they had begun stocking up, with some acknowledging that while Donald Trump's statements might be threats, it was better to be prepared. Well, the development came against a backdrop of rising tensions in the transatlantic trade relations. And just hours before Donald Trump's announcement, the European Parliament voted to freeze the ratification of an EU-US trade deal indefinitely. Lawmakers cited growing unease over Donald Trump's repeated threats linked to the Greenland, with the chair of the Parliament's International Trade Committee saying there was no alternative but to suspend approval of the agreement. While Donald Trump has now stepped back from immediate economic and military pressure, his remarks in Davos made clear that Greenland remains central to his strategic vision and that discussions over the Arctic's future are far from over. That's all for now. Stay tuned to The Savera for more updates. Do like, comment and subscribe to the channel.